Frazier Friday, baby. Let's have a day. Scotty Braun, fresh off of prep school.
Oh, he's going with the little. I see him.
Yeah, he always does. He does it subtly.
Yes, he does.
If you're listening to the pod later on, Erik Kratz, sneaky dancer. I didn't say sneaky good or sneaky bad, just sneaky dancer.
You should have seen him in Puerto Rico, man. Oof.
Ooh.
We're gonna sizzler. We're gonna
sizzler. That's all we did, sizzler.
All right, so Todd Father is a former third baseman, also did a little first base, so that'll be good in a couple minutes when we get to that whole shebang, that drama.
Oof.
But Todd Father is also a former Pittsburgh Pirate. Now, all of the teams he played for are behind me, and I just wanted to get a minute from you on how the Pirates just decided to blame Derek Shelton. And, hey, this team should be putting together more wins. It's got to blame somebody besides the owner, who's one of the biggest train wrecks in sports, but they did use Derek Shelton as the fall guy yesterday after losing 7 in a row. They're 12-26. Their season's over. So any thoughts before we jump into the current stuff?
Listen, it's crazy what's going on over there. And again, I only played 20 games, maybe 20 games. I don't remember, but I just remember little things that just would drive you crazy, like figuring out who should do what this guy should be on the team. I remember when I got basically cut, sent down to the AAA practice squad. I had 3 coaches come up to me, and all 3 were like, this guy said this guy said that. I'm like, holy cow. I'm like, okay, great. And I'm like, here we go. Like, this is not how it should be. But it was nice to hear, like, somebody, coming out and explaining to you, who had your back and who didn't. And that stuff you don't forget. But at the same time, blaming a manager for the faults, I guess that's what they do nowadays. And that's what these guys that are, the top dogs, he did come out and say, you can't put all the blame. It's everybody's got to work. Well, go get some players. Spend some money. I mean, it's not that hard. You have the money to spend, and we talk about it all the time. These small market teams, you got billions of dollars. You can go out and try and get some guys. And, at the end of the day, you don't get them, and you tried, and you figure out a way to say, hey, we'll give you the same amount this person's getting. Respect to you. That's just not happening.
Thank you. That's a good problem right there. That was a good rant. And I guess I'll conclude it with this. You played with a team like the Yankees, different organization from the Pirates, right? Felt a little different when you were there in terms of treatment,
of course,
right?
Yes.
Not as much corner cutting.
No, it was fantastic.
Yeah, exactly.
All good.
I mean, no offense, Kratz, but when he was with the Yanks, they didn't need it sizzling.
No, they had some 6 Oz steaks though. Todd knows what a 6 Oz steak is.
I mean, listen, there's nothing better than the food at Yankee Stadium. I mean, even if you're a visitor, we talked about that too all the time. I mean, 5-course meals. Like, you're sitting there when the game's over with. That's one stadium. You're sitting there for another hour and a half after you shower, shooting the shit and just eating like you're a king.
They're keeping you there, right? In a good way. All right, let's charge the mound, powered by Arena Club. We've got some juice to hit.
Charging the mound.
What is going on in Boston, Kratz? This has been a topic all week since Tristan Casas went down over the weekend with the season-ending injury. How do they replace him at first base? They don't really have a first baseman on the 40-man roster. Could Rafael Devers move to first? Alex Cora says no. Craig Breslow basically said no. Rafael Devers, the latest to speak, the man himself. And there are a lot of quotes to slice through.
Ooh.
So he said they can't expect me to play every position out there. He had started with saying, I know I'm a ball player, but at the same time, they can't expect me to play every position out there. In spring training, they talked to me and basically told me to put away my glove. I wasn't going to play any other position but DH. So right now, I just feel like it's an appropriate decision by them to ask me to play another position, inappropriate on his end. He said he's not willing to play first base, doesn't understand why the team wants him to move again after asking him to move positions. And he said things are fine in the clubhouse, but essentially said that he is frustrated with Craig Breslow and almost appears as if he's confused why the conversation is with Breslow and not with Alex Cora. On the clubhouse piece, Chris Cotillo saying you can bet teammates are not going to be thrilled about this stance. There were some others saying they felt some disappointment essentially in the room from teammates. And there was one line about how he's like, what are they going to do next? Ask me to play outfield. But yeah, there's Gabrielle Starr. Several of them were listening intently around the clubhouse, and the reactions were not positive. I will add this, Kratz. I was trying to do some homework behind the scenes. I know Ken Rosenthal is going to join us soon too. It does sound like there is not much communication going on between Alex Cora and Rafael Devers. This is something our show brought up the other day, and I questioned this to AJ, and I'll ask it to you again here. Is there a fractured relationship that is going to cause a difference on the field for the Red Sox because of Alex Cora and Rafael Devers clearly not seeing eye to eye?
Is it going to be a noticeable change on the field? No, but if the team misses the playoffs by one game, misses winning the division by one game, that's one of the things they're going to point to. That's just the reality of the pressure cooker of being in Boston, New York, Philly, probably not Chicago, but the big markets, they're going to point to all that stuff. And the Red Sox, while they're no Pirates as far as shooting themselves in the foot, they are not doing a great job of staying ahead of this with their superstar. He is their superstar. They paid him like the superstar. Whether they think he's still their superstar or not, they're not staying ahead of this. And I don't think it's going to. I mean, you look at the start that Devers had to start the year. He was abysmal. I mean, he was as bad as me out there. And now he's up to like a 133 OPS plus, even after that start. So he settled into his role. All the off-field stuff, you get this sometimes with superstars. I just don't think they're doing a great job of like holding back the water right now.
Understandable. And for me, there's a couple things I want to break down here. As a professional, I'm going to go kind of lean a little bit against what he was saying there, just a little bit. I agree with him for the most part, but a little bit. If you're a professional baseball player and you could play the field and you've been a fielder your whole life, get out there and work at your position, even if they say you're probably not going to play there. Well, in my mind, it's like, well, I want to keep my feet moving. I want to get my body in certain positions just in case of an injury. Like that should be the mindset. Again, I'm not siding with, the brass, the management with the Red Sox, but at the same time, be a professional. You know what I mean? And again, it's me not bashing another player. It's me explaining, go take some balls to the third base. It doesn't have to be every day. You have a day game, chill out, get ready to DH. Go out there and, when Bregman's hitting, go take 15 to 20 balls and get your body in a certain position. So again, if this does come up, somebody's struggling, well, guess what? My legs are underneath me. I can still go out there and play a little bit. And then eventually it's going to take time to get back to where he needs to be. But now on the other side of the spectrum, you told him, put away your glove. That's the truth. So why are you going to expect him to come out and play another position? Okay. So there's both different sides. I think as a baseball player and as an infielder, going to play first base, that's probably the easiest transition from third to first. I easily think he could do it. It takes the pressure off him. He's going to be in every single play. Just like in third base, you're in every single play because you got to react. It's about a reaction. Couple things he's going to have to work on: picking baseballs, how to set his feet up at first base, when there's a lefty throwing compared to a righty, how to get off the base playing defense, where to position himself with a runner on first so he can make an easy double play. There's a lot of things that go into it, again, but at the same time, he's a professional. He can easily do it. And to hear this riff-raff with several teammates that were listening, that's a crock of crap. I don't believe that. I mean, guys might have said something, but you're going to write something like that and try and ruffle more feathers. I just find that a little disheartening. I think, honestly, guys are always going to talk, and that's baseball in a nutshell, Scotty. And, they're Red Sox. They're only 2 games out. They're actually playing decent baseball right now. And Rafael Devers 2 knocks yesterday. It's really not bothering him anymore. So, again, be a professional, and going to first base isn't the worst thing in the world. You're in every play, and I think he can do it.
I mean, has Rafi – I don't want what I said to be misconstrued that I don't think Rafi should be out there. I think every player from the high school level to the All-Star game should be willing to change positions to win the game. You play to win the game. And if you're not playing to win the game, are you out there for personal accolades? Are you out there just for yourself? Is it going to be tough? Absolutely, it's going to be tough. But this is where the organization says, you know what? We're going to give you some ground balls. Hey, then we're going to put you in there and we're going to see how it goes. You never know. It might work out for you. But ultimately, it hopefully will work out for the team, because when Yoshida comes back, if he is the guy that's going to be banging balls off the green monster, hitting balls the opposite field like he can when he's hot and healthy, now it stretches your lineup out to go to the playoffs, to go where you want to go. The reason you told the team, go out and buy somebody. Like, why would you not make the change? Oh, because they told me? They told me I wasn't going to. I don't buy that.
Yeah.
So Alex Cora has even said on our show in spring training, he likes guys to tell it like it is. Of course, we love that on this show because we like to hear the transparency.
Yeah.
Even in the off season, correct me if I'm wrong here, Kratz, Cora said he wanted Bregman, but the front office was a little more wishy-washy. Obviously, everyone wants him, but it was at a certain price, right? Wasn't there a little bit of publicity to them debating who they wanted in free agency? I'm pretty sure. I know that I'm just bringing this up here on the fly.
I don't remember that part.
You don't remember that? Okay, I'll ask Ken about it. But the reason I'm bringing this up is I'm wondering if there's a little dissension where Alex Cora is like, yeah, I don't want him on the field. I want him just DHing. I don't even want him at first.
Easily.
And Breslow's like, I would like to try him there because that would maximize the lineup potential if we can get Devers over at first and we can use that DH slot for others. And this is still a young kid who, like Todd Father said, should be able to handle first, right? He wasn't playing a good third, but that doesn't mean he can't handle first. And also, nobody is saying grab a glove, go play there tomorrow. But for optics purposes too, wouldn't you say, hey, I know we told you this. We messed up. We shouldn't have said throw your glove out. We're not having you play DH at all. Go grab your glove, take a little early ground balls, see what happens, and just start to get acclimated with first base. You want to be in this league for a long time. You're signed up with us for 8 more years? See if that's going to be a thing for you in the future too. Even if you're back at third base next year because Bregman opts out and leaves us, do we think that he's going to play third base 6 years from now?
Yeah.
It's a good position to have if you can handle it in the holster if you want to still be out in the field.
And your versatility helps there a little bit. It's not like they're telling them, you got to go to the minor leagues and work on this.
Yeah.
I've seen that happen to numerous people. Go down the minor leagues, work on playing third base. We'll bring you back up, never to be seen again.
They're not putting him in the outfield either, by the way. I know he said that.
No,
but come on, Ralph.
I think it would just came out. When you talk and all of a sudden it's like, even in the outfield, whatever, just works out. But I think his focus should be on helping the team out. I think, honestly, in the beginning, I would have been pissed off too. They said, you're not playing third base anymore. I understand. Understandably, that was your position. They brought a guy in who's a really good third baseman, took your spot. Okay, so what? You moved on now. All of a sudden, nobody's feeling bad for you. You're going to be fine. Go out there and be the team guy that you can be, and try and work your butt off to win it, an AL East if it comes into fruition.
All right, let's get to Ken Rosenthal coming up in just a moment. And yes, by the way, Cora was the big front guy in the offseason and was vocal about it, how he wanted Bregman.
Communication.
So that was
that's
a
all.
thing.
Like,
I'm cool with that.
Communication with you. And that comes in with respect factor too, a little bit.
Yeah.
Your teammates need that. Ball players need that.
Yeah. I'm not sure the PR team for the Red Sox has everything together right now for him either. I don't know if they have his back. They'll just kind of throw him out there sometimes. So anyway, we'll get to Ken in a moment. Make sure you visit arenaclub.com/foul. Use the code FOUL for 20% off your first slab pack or card purchase. Get after it, FT fan, buying, selling, trading, whatever you're doing with your cards. You can do it digitally. You want the card, they give it to you physically as well. Obviously, put that thing in the mail for you. So arenaclub.com/foul. We'll be right back with Inside Scoop Time. A lot of heat with Ken Rosenthal. Trevor, I need caffeine every day. And for me, it's cold, not hot. So I go cold brew. I've been a trade coffee customer for a long time now. I don't want to go to the grocery store and get the concentrate. Can you deliver me the kit, please?
Absolutely. Trade can do that for you. Who wants to get the concentrate at the store anyways? You don't even know when that stuff was made, when you can just set it, forget it at home, and have more cold brew coffee than you can ever hope for. I love doing that. It's a fun little activity also, and Trade allows you to do it.
Yes, they hook you up with the best beans specifically for cold brew from top roasters across the U.S. Trade is the #1 coffee destination in the U.S. for both hot and cold coffee drinkers. For a limited time, they're giving away a free Hario cold brewer when you sign up for a cold brew subscription when you go to drinktrade.com/foul. That's drinktrade.com/foul to get your free cold brew maker with select cold brew subscriptions. That's drinktrade.com/foul. Hey, we're back. Scott Coleman, host of Hammer Territory, commented on this little Braves note about them selecting Luke Williams to the roster, and they designated Eddie Rosario for assignment. He said, no joke, I think the Braves saw how slow Eddie turned third base in the 9th last night and said, yeah, that's enough. that's harsh. But
Luke Williams, it's another USA guy played trials with him. He was our leadoff guy. Stud, waiting for him to get going, man. Give him a shot. Let him prosper. The kid can play. So I'm rooting for you, Luke. Rooting for you, buddy.
He's a little faster than Eddie.
Yes, he's quick.
I'm trying to queue up the sprint speed for him.
Man, listen.
I kid you not. I'm on here and it's not popping up. Why would it do that? Oh, I guess there's not enough plate appearances, obviously. So I'm like, where are we at?
You know what's funny? Luke Williams, I get this is the case. Like Eddie Rosario has had a much better career, but Luke Williams is the type of player that you teach your high school kids to play like, but everybody wants to be like Eddie Rosario, just coming out and just, I remember when he hit 7 home runs in 7 straight days and he had that ridiculous NLCS, and Luke Williams is like, okay, you know what? I'm just going to do everything right, run the bases, have a little power, but not a lot.
Luke is the Tom Amansky of baseball.
Big funda.
Back to back.
Fundamentals. That's right.
Half fun, half mental. Fundamental.
All right, I'm interested to hear what Ken has to say. The Inside Scoop with Ken Rosenthal. Let's get right to the Rafael Devers drama that's been rolling all season long here since the start of spring training, Ken. I mean, obviously he said some things yesterday that stood out a ton, but after you comment on that, I'm like, is there something deeper going on here? Because this is getting weird. Every turn seems to be more drama from a positional standpoint. What did you think when you heard the comments yesterday?
First off, there's a lot going on here. And the comments, I guess, did not surprise me. They were similar to the comments he made after the Red Sox initially asked him to become a DH following the signing of Alex Bregman. I have a lot of thoughts on this. There is a lot of nuance to this, a lot of layers to this. My first thought is everyone takes for granted, everyone being fans, media, and sometimes teams, how difficult it is to play first base. Rafael Devers has never played first base as a professional. I don't know that he's ever played it, period. And to ask him in the middle of a season to do this, it's not Bryce Harper coming off an injury training to play first base. It's not Mookie getting half a spring last year to kind of get himself situated at the shortstop. It's the middle of a season. And I know, Scott, you said, well, he can take some time, just work out there. He's also a guy who has just been asked to adjust to being a DH. Took him time to do that. And now you're perhaps compromising his offense when you move him to first base if he's going to be so preoccupied with playing that position, when you have to deal with pickoffs and cutoffs and all kinds of positioning things. It's just not that easy. And the other thing is, the Red Sox don't have a backup first baseman. That's not on Rafael Devers. That's not his fault. And I guess it's true that teams can't be protected at every spot, but they've got no alternatives here. And you could go out and maybe sign somebody or someone who's in AAA, go get him. That would be a possibility. It's not going to be Tristan Casas. But it's on Rafael Devers. It's his problem here that you don't have a backup at that position. So to me, Devers is in something of a no-win here. If he plays the position, he goes and plays it, well, he might embarrass himself for a little bit defensively. He might be compromised offensively. And if he doesn't play the position, which seems to be his position right now, then he looks selfish. This is a situation that is born out of the Red Sox lack of communication with him, improper communication. I don't know what you describe it as, but it has not been handled very well from the very start. Because if you were going after Alex Bregman, and they were going after Alex Bregman, at that point, you have to say, listen, Rafi, we're going after Bregman. We don't know if we're going to get him, but if we get him, we're going to have some conversations. Instead, they blindsided him. Now, I know a lot of fans are going to look at this and say, guys, a $300 million player, he should do whatever the team wants. And there is a certain element of truth to that. No question about it. You should be willing to do what the team wants. But what the team is asking here is a big ask. And my final point here is that the manager of the team, Alex Cora, didn't seem to want to ask Rafael Devers to do this. Cora kept saying, I'm not going to be the one asking him. I'm not going to ask him to do this. We already asked him to DH. The ultimate question was asked by the president of baseball operations, Craig Breslow. That's a little odd, too. Does Cora not want Devers to be at first base, or does he simply not want to be a part of this whole mess? I don't know. More answers to come, I hope.
Where's the communication breakdown what's the genesis of the communication breakdown? Is it the fact that Breslow's a new GM and Cora's like, I feel like I kind of butted heads with Heimblum before, and now we got another GM. Are they butting heads? Is Cora saving his player because he's got to be in the locker room with them, so you go do the dirty work? Like, where's that communication breaking down, or the genesis of the breakdown of communication?
Erik, I have all the same questions you do. And I believe Alex Cora is going to speak to the media before the game today, and a lot of these questions are going to be asked. There's no doubt about that. I don't know the genesis of it, although I guess you would go back to the offseason when they kept telling Devers, don't worry about it, you're our third baseman. They kept saying it publicly. He's our third baseman. He wasn't their third baseman under certain circumstances that later transpired. So that's maybe how it started. But where it is now and where the breakdown is coming, I'm not clear on that. And if Alex Cora gets asked these questions today, which I'm sure he will, his answers, I imagine, will be somewhat enlightening. I'm not sure they will be. He usually is pretty open about what he thinks, but he's in a difficult spot here. He's kind of caught between his player, who he has a strong relationship with and probably wants to defend, and his new boss, or relatively new boss, Craig Breslow. And yes, you're absolutely right. He had those problems with Bloom. They've been well documented. So he too is in a difficult spot.
And Ken, I mentioned this earlier, Alex in the offseason, for example, talked about how he was really pushing for Bregman. It sounded like he was the high guy on him and did ultimately get him. And that's worked out wonderfully for them. Do you think that Alex is also in a more powerful spot than some other managers would be based on some job security? Obviously, he's got a strong resume with this team, well paid. So it does sound like he's a guy who does speak his mind. He did not see eye to eye with Heimblum. That eventually became public. And it could be some dissension here with Breslow as well. Because for me, if he does agree to any extent, it is his job to sit down with Devers, right? You're a manager these days. You're a psychologist. So even if you don't agree, you have to be managing this to a point where Devers isn't blasting the team in front of everyone. So I'm just curious about the dynamics of him as a manager versus, maybe some other guys in baseball. I just think about Quatraro with the Royals, right? He's so mild-mannered. Obviously this is his first manager gig. He's had success. They just seem like they have a little bit of, different say or different power structure here within the organization.
Scott, you raise a couple of really good points. Alex Cora, it would seem to me, is more powerful than most managers. He has more say than most managers. He's been around longer than Craig Breslow has, and he has a contract that is a pretty good one, and it's been extended. So, yes, he is in that kind of spot. The real question to me here is, why, if you're the Red Sox, are you not having Cora have that conversation with him And if Alex Cora says, I'm not going to be the one to do it to Craig Breslow says, you're the manager, pal. You have to do this. He is a guy that you have known forever. You won a World Series with. You've got to sit down with him and at least ask the question and see if you can get him to do it. You heard what Devers said yesterday. I don't know what this GM has for me. I don't know what he's got against me. It's kind of what he meant. And if that conversation had been with Cora, I don't know that Devers could have reacted that way. So one of the many curious things here is why that conversation did not take place between Cora and Devers and why it took place between Breslow and Devers instead. I'm curious about that.
How often when you are asking questions like this and you hear the reaction not only of Devers and what he said, then you hear the reaction of teammates. Yes, you're not interviewing them, but how much of that helps you paint the picture for the story? Because Gabrielle Starr tweeted out that hearing the reaction of what Devers said was kind of taken aback. Some of his teammates were kind of taken aback. They reacted adversely. How much of that helps you write your story? You're not quoting what they said, but how much of that helps you write the story that you're then putting out?
It's certainly part of it, Erik. And obviously the teammates' reaction, you see Gabrielle's tweet there, and I don't believe she was the only one to kind of put that out there. Others said as well that the other players were not necessarily happy with Devers. Yeah, that matters. It matters a lot because, one, Devers said, I'm great with my teammates. Well, that might not be the case. And two, you want harmony as much as you can ever have harmony between 26 individuals in your clubhouse. So it's context for what is going on for sure. I don't know that it helps you write your story. There's plenty to write here without that, but it's definitely part of the story. So that too is something that we're going to have to see how it all plays out, because as a player, I want to ask Todd this too. Todd, you know this. First base is not just pick up and go, give me a glove, let's do it. It's not that simple. There's so much more involved. It actually is a physically taxing position in some ways when you've got to cover when a guy's on first and do all the different things there. It just seems to me that's getting lost here.
Yeah, and I kind of explained it earlier about how to position yourself with a lefty up, with a righty up, how to hold a runner on, picking baseballs, the reaction of how ball's going to go if it hits the grass compared to the dirt, cutoffs. You got the cutoff from center field and first. I remember the first time I did it. I played first, but, not in a level where I wasn't ready yet. And I remember missing going to be the cutoff when a center fielder got a ground ball, throwing the ball home, and everybody's like, where's the cutoff, man? And I'm like, oh, shoot, I forgot again. But, again, how to get off first base with a certain batter on, where to position yourself on double plays. There's a lot that definitely goes into it. And there's been some really good ones. And, yeah, it's going to be hard. But at the same time, if you put in the work, I feel like you see a guy like Bryce Harper. He looks pretty good over there. So it's just now doing it now, like you said, it's going to be really tough for sure. But, that's the case of anything. Moving on, I want to talk a little about Max Fried. You wrote in your notes column the other day how he adjusted to a change. And with Matt Blake, the pitching coach with the Yankees, like, what were those changes? And explain to us why he's gotten so much better when he was already an elite pitcher.
I thought this was really interesting, Todd, and it goes back to when they signed Fried. They had a Zoom with him, and this was reported at the time that initially the Yankees thought, we'll check in with him, but he's probably not coming to us. But Fried was very interested in the Yankees, and he was asking them questions. How can I get better? What do you guys see? What can I do? And from that moment, the Yankees were kind of taken by him, and they thought, wow, this really is possible for us. And, of course, they signed him. 8 years, $218 million. And the way Matt Blake described it, they've basically done a lot of tweaking, making his pitches different shapes, making them even better. They've worked on a lot of different aspects of each of his 7 individual pitches. And it's working for him. In the notes column that I wrote, I asked Eno Saris, who's our main data guy at The Athletic, I said, hey, tell me what's going on with Fried. Tell me what's different. And there's a lot that's different. The drop on his pitches is more significant, the breaking stuff. And he's using the sweeper against righties. He's doing things that he hasn't necessarily done before. And yes, this appears to be the best version of Max Fried we've seen. And as you said, Todd, we've seen Max Fried really good. So It's a testament to his openness to new ideas, and it's a testament also to the Yankees being able to find these different areas that he could use to improve.
You know, a team that doesn't need to improve? The hottest team in baseball right now, the Royals. How can you be 15-2 in your last 17 games and still need help? Not believe in the 15-2?
Oh, I believe in it from the pitching perspective. And the one thing I pointed out is this has been a relatively soft part of their schedule. They've had the White Sox, they've had the Rockies, they've had the Orioles not playing particularly well, Tampa Bay not playing particularly well. So, listen, you have to win against the opponents in front of you, and they have done that. But offensively, they are still toward the bottom of the league. Their outfield is one of the worst outfields from an offensive production standpoint in the league. So, yes, they're going to need help offensively. They recognize that, and they recognize it probably will be in their outfield. If you remember, I reported, I don't remember, spring training it was, that they pursued Anthony Santander. There was a reason they pursued Anthony Santander. That kind of guy is still somebody that they need. Now, if Pasquantino gets going a little bit, they'll be in a better spot, and some others get going a little bit, but the outfield is still a weakness, and it's still something that I expect them to address at some point before the deadline.
Something that we thought they needed to address all offseason was the Mariners' offense. Well, I guess we were wrong. All they needed was Kevin Seitzer and to re-sign Jorge Polanco.
Erik, this is one of the most surprising things about the season so far, how well they've played offensively. And I don't know if it's just the new hitting coaches. I can't tell exactly what's going on. I don't know that anyone can. But they're striking out a lot less. They're hitting home runs. They're walking at a very high rate. They're leading the majors in walks. Those are all good formulas for success. And they've also gotten contributions from Leo Rivas and Williamson at third base, the rookie, and Miles Mastrobuoni. All these different guys have kind of helped them along. And they've gotten superstar production from Cal Raleigh and Jorge Polanco. Dylan Moore has been a big part of what they've done. So it all seems to be clicking for them right now. How long it can last, I don't know. Is Jorge Polanco going to have an 1,100 OPS all season long? I tend to doubt it. But with all this said, Julio Rodriguez really has not gotten hot yet. So these things tend to balance out. Some guys regress in a negative way. Some guys regress in a positive way. And clearly, with their pitching, even though they've lost George Kirby and Logan Gilbert for a time, they're going to be a formidable team in what appears to be a weaker AL West than maybe we thought.
You had some good analysis on the A's in your notes column, who are also in the same division, making that division tougher and making the Mariners start here even more important because there's clearly going to be tough games in the division. But can you tell us a little bit more about the A's and what we should be paying attention to in Sacramento?
It's interesting, Erik. Often with the defensive metrics, I get upset because they will disagree with each other. I'm talking about outside average and defensive runs saved. Sometimes one of those stats will portray a player or team favorably while the other does not, and I just throw up my hands and say, what are we doing here? In this particular case, A's team defense, they are last in outs above average, and they are last in defensive runs saved. That tells me, even though it's a relatively small sample at this point, that they're not a very good defensive team. And clearly they are not. So when they play good defense, it seems they generally win. And when they don't, things happen and they don't have good outcomes. So that's something, I don't know that you can fix it necessarily in season, but it's kind of a work in progress. They've got Soderstrom out in left field now because Kurtz is at first base. And that seems to be going well. Kurtz is a good defender. Jacob Wilson has improved at shortstop. Third base is a bit of a question because they want Andujar's bat in the lineup. He's not a great third baseman necessarily. So they've got some different kinds of issues going on. J.J. Bleday not playing well in center. At the same time, they've been more competitive than most of us would think they would have been. They're over 500. They've played pretty well, I would say, for the most part. And I expect that that will continue.
Ken, you wrote an article a few days ago about Perdomo, the shortstop for the Diamondbacks, and how when he came into the league, he was a rookie who was kind of taken the wrong way by veterans. Is that something that he then needed Torey Lovullo to say, hey, you know what, just be you? Or is it something that him and Torey Lovullo, you talked about in the article, had arguments, but it elevated his game to be the person that he is today, or stayed the same person and then just became a great player?
He stayed the same person. And what was going on in the clubhouse with his teammates and what was going on with Lovullo were really two different things. Some of the veterans took a little exception to his energy and his enthusiasm, his constant chatter. They just thought, this kid, it's too much. And what's interesting is the one guy who didn't think it was too much, who eventually came around to Perdomo, according to Perdomo, was the king of the old school, Madison Bumgarner. And eventually, too, other players, and Zach Gallen and Merrill Kelly talked about this with me as I was doing the article. They said, listen, we came to realize that's just him. And he's now a leader of our team. Zach Gallen said he's like the captain, the heartbeat of our club. And from that perspective, it just took time for players to accept him. And probably they should have accepted him sooner. This was a losing team at the time, though. They lost 110 the first year Perdomo was up. So some of his enthusiasm in that situation didn't play as well as it might have in others. Now, with regard to Lovullo, it was a different question and a different concern. Lovullo wanted Perdomo to become more of a leader, become the quarterback of the infield. And he was hard on him in getting Perdomo to kind of understand that role, understand what is expected of him. And that took time. And one of the interesting things I thought that came out of the story was just how that manager-player relationship evolved. It wasn't so smooth at the beginning, and now it's as good as it can be. They have nonverbal communication, they have verbal communication, and from that perspective, I thought it was really interesting. And overall, I know the Arizona Diamondbacks aren't a nationally sexy team. I know a lot of people still don't know who Geraldo Perdomo is, but this was one of the more interesting stories I've worked on in a while. One of the more satisfying stories because there was so much going on here. There was so much interesting background that I would encourage people to read it and just give it a look because it's about the Diamondbacks and it's about Perdomo, and you might not like or care about the Diamondbacks or Perdomo, but there's a lot in here that's just about baseball. And again, acceptance of teammates, manager-player relationships. It was all pretty interesting to me.
And the Diamondbacks like him enough to give him a nice extension, a month or two ago in spring training. So he's signed up for 4 years, $45 million at least, if not more. There's a club option and some incentives on top of that can take it all the way up to 5 years, $72 million. I'll just add this for a plug. There's a lot more in Ken's notes column, including some info on Perdomo and the Jordan Lawler dynamic. Lawler hasn't really worked out yet up in the bigs. He's had some injuries, but check that out if you want to take a look too. Ken, appreciate the time. Great info on a Friday. Have a great weekend and good luck to you with your colleague and dork of the week, AJ Pierzynski, on Saturday on Fox.
Yeah, maybe I should have restrained myself knowing I'd be working with him, but nah, I don't think so.
It makes for good theater. Hey, mid-May Fox game, I'm locked in for that. So I'm looking forward to the commentary. Thanks, Ken.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate you. All right, that's the Inside Scoop. Also, of course, Fair Territory was live yesterday. If you want to check that out, go for it. Wherever you get your pods, also on the FT YouTube channel. And Ken is back on Monday with another edition. Be right back. If you want to be bougie and have your own personal shopper, Hungry Root is actually the spot, and you can do it at an affordable price.
Yeah, without a doubt. And especially with my busy schedule with kids on the run all the time, baseball, gymnastics, I need a source that's going to get me going and my kids as well. So I'll pop in an easy chicken parm or grilled chicken, put it in a nice container, get it to go, and the kids are excited, and they're full, and they're nutritional, and it's ready to rock for their games.
There will be snacks that you have never heard of that you will immediately fall in love with. They will pick them out for you if you want. Obviously, you can go on there. You pick all of your preferences. Hungry Root gets the job done. Okay, FT fam? We love Hungry Root. Take advantage of this exclusive offer for a limited time. 40% off your first box plus a free item in every box for life at hungryroot.com/FT. That's code FT. hungryroot.com/FT. Code FT for 40% off your first box and a free item of your choice for life. The code is simple. It's 2 letters, FT. A little bit of news. Padres keep getting healthier. Jake Cronenworth back. Jackson Merrill back this week. Had a homer the other day. That's helpful. They've been missing a lot of guys, and they've been off to a really good start.
Just cruise control.
Yeah.
It's
significant.
It's very big because, the Dodgers are playing okay. My opinion, I thought the Dodgers would be taken off by now, but they got some squads out there in the West now. I still think they'll be fine, but at the same time, these teams get hot now in the West. It could be a little interesting.
This is a good team, Kratz. Tatis has been insane too.
Good team, but this is a bullpen that is just lights out. When I made my debut in 2010, they had a ridiculous bullpen. I feel like every time you look up, you're like, good Padres teams, bullpen are just it's like a 5-inning game. If you don't get to them before the 5th, you're like, you might scratch a few across, but it is tough. And that lineup, they're doing it right now without Cronenworth, who had a great year last year, and obviously what Jackson Merrill did last year. Like, now they're going to be playing it back into lineup. Yeesh.
To me, that's where you can separate yourself as a GM or president of baseball operations, is looking at your bullpen track record, because are you finding diamonds in the rough? Are you developing them well? Are you getting the right pitching development programs and tools and pitching coach in place to be able to help guys thrive? I mean, look at the Mets. They've had some crappy pitching, and then now the last couple years with Stearns, it looks really good.
Kyle, I know you got a lot of love for this fan base. What would be your message to them just to keep them in the building as the team tries to figure out some of these struggles?
Keep believing in us. Keep riding.
Thanks, Kyle.
And a little more here after Kyle Freeland got emotional and walked off the podium. But Patrick Saunders, who covers the team for the Denver Post, said Freeland was asked to compare the Tigers and the Royals turnarounds to, what they're dealing with. He said, what they're doing is right. What we're doing is wrong. And we're not winning baseball games. We're playing a bad brand of baseball all the way around: pitching, fielding, hitting. I mean, they might set the record for worst team in baseball a year after we saw the worst team in baseball, the Chicago White Sox. So first, real quick, Kratz, because I know you're an emotional guy. Did you feel that from Kyle, who's been there for a while, grew up in Colorado, and also only pitches every 5-6 days? He's feeling it. It must suck to be on a team that loses that bad every day.
You said he pitches once every 5 days. Pitchers are out there every single day for themselves, in the sense that they got their day after throwing today is a tough day. They're sore. They're working out. They're getting everything going. So, like, pitchers are invested. They're just not invested in the same way that, like, position players are. And to me, that's where that frustration comes from. I think he has, after last night, I think he has like a 10.5 ERA exactly at home in his home starts this year. Like, he just had a stinker, and you see that emotion from him. It shows he cares. It shows a veteran that's been on this team when they were good cares, and he wants them to do well. Nobody's being put around him. So you put all that work and effort and daily grind into another stinker where guys just throw the ball away, balls that are rolling, almost stopping, rolling and hitting, going between your player's legs and bouncing away, and runners move up again. Like, that's frustrating to work all week for one start, and then you see that effort behind you, or you see those results. Not about effort, those results behind you on defense.
Yeah, and it's everything. It's everything. When it rains, it pours. We know that. The record looks dismal. You come to the ballpark every day like, oh, boy, here we go again. That's the last thing. You go to any job, not even ballpark. You go to a job, where it's struggling. You're not winning. You're not getting the getting the job you want, or they're not giving you the opportunities. Let me go to get another coffee. It's tough, and it's hard to get stuff out of your players when you're struggling in any profession that you do, and especially baseball now. It's go in the ballpark, you're like, here we go again. Been there. It stinks.
Todd, I got a question for you. Have you ever played on a bad team that you were like, I just don't think today we're going to win? Did you ever think that in the big leagues? Because I asked AJ that before. Like, you guys were all-stars. Like, so, I want to compare your mindset and process compared to mine on the teams that I played on.
Yeah, no, there was never a thought in my mind that, we're going to lose today. When you're struggling, there's doubt. Sometimes there's doubt, especially with yourself. But team-wise, sun came up the next day, and let's just get after it. And I always thought we always had an opportunity to win. But, you always had doubt in your mind when you struggle. You're like, oh, no, here we go again. No, not this time. But, you find a way to get out of it.
But you never played for the 2025 Colorado Rockies, who have already had 4 6-game losing skids. They were outscored 21-3 in the doubleheader yesterday and out hit 29-9. They're 6-31 on the season. It is May 9th.
It's so funny. We're talking about this now, and a buddy of mine who works with the Rockies, he says, have you seen the Rockies record? He's in the minor leagues. And we're talking about it right now. I feel like Tim Kurchin. This is crazy. This is unbelievable. It's weird how this just popped up, and he's not even watching the show right now. I said, turn the show on. You'll see. We're talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
That is absolutely insanity.
I don't know what the pace is because I don't have the quick math, but it's really bad.
Yeah.
It's like 7 games below what the White Sox did. Currently,
they're on pace for 127-ish.
I think so. 128. Didn't the White Sox lose 121?
121. Right.
Is that it? 121?
121 is the all-timer last year.
I don't know. God.
They've got work to do.
And they will get to work and do it.
And it just might not be winning work. The thing is, Kratz, for me, usually when a team's this bad, it does usually tumble even more so. I mean, the Rockies aren't big trade deadline sellers because the ownership family just has no idea what to do with the trade deadline, and they'll just keep people they're friends with. But you get worse usually if you sell off parts, and then also your depth gets tested as the year goes on. It's hard enough for an organization to operate with that ballpark and in that environment. We haven't seen a lot of consistent winning since that franchise started, but I don't think anyone's asking for that. They're just like, can we get a competitive team to some extent right now?
Terrible.
You would be excited if you looked at the guys like from a prospect standpoint, from Ryan McMahon, Ezekiel Tovar, Brenton Doyle. Like you're like, yeah. Like even my buddy and my twin, Jacob Stallings, had a bounce back resurgent offensive year last year. He has a Gold Glove in his arsenal. Like you'd be like, okay, they got some cool, nice pieces. But they're so afraid as an organization to go outside of what they've done that a team that, they didn't hit very well at the beginning of the season, they fired in the offseason. They didn't bring back one of their assistant coaches that wasn't from the organization, didn't bring them back for no reason because they cut down from 3 hitting coaches like most teams have to 2. And then they hired Bam Bam Hensley Mullins, and they fired him, 20 games into the season? And now they're hitting even worse since Clint Hurdle's back. Like, it's just, I'm confused the message that they're sending the players, not the players not getting the job done. It's confusing what message is being sent.
And I'll button this up real short and simple. If I'm in AA, AAA, it's go time. Hey, get after it. Dominate. All of a sudden, you're going to be the next one in line because if they do trade some pieces, they're going to bring some people up because they got nobody else. Minor leaguers and Rockies, get after it, big doggies. It's your turn.
Mm-hmm. Time to shine. I mean, they're going to start switching things up. They already did a little bit, right? They had a new hitting coach in there in Clint Hurdle, although he's been part of the mix there for a long time. They need some fresh voices. Freshness. Get a little freshness. Yeah, you notice how some of the worst teams ever just never really go outside of their comfort zone
No.
to get help. It's almost like they don't
No, they
want
get rid of stuff.
dissension. They
They
don't
get
want
rid.
someone telling them you're wrong. I don't know. Maybe you can
That's
read into
exact-
that. We can talk about it more sometime.
That's the exact opposite. That's the exact opposite of what the Rays are doing. The Rays are like, if you don't, they get rid of you if you don't question, if you're not willing to bring something up that will help the organization.
Facts. We're going to get back to the Red Sox mess with Rafael Devers. Christopher Smith was in the clubhouse yesterday during that conversation. He's joining us next. It is complicated enough to figure out what type of car you want, but when it comes to pricing and best time to buy and all of that information that you're looking for, Car Gurus is the only destination that you should be thinking about, Kratz. Why?
Because I don't have to question what the price is. It's going to be there. If the price changes and comes down to where I want it to be, bang, I get a notification. Car Gurus is giving it to me straight, and this is how I want to purchase a car. Not fast. I just want to know what's going on.
With over 4 million listings, Car Gurus has more car listings than any other major online automotive marketplace in the U.S. So you can find the best deal, and it's no wonder SimilarWeb estimated traffic data shows Car Gurus is the #1 most visited car shopping site. So you can buy or sell your next car today with Car Gurus at cargurus.com. Go to cargurus.com to make sure your big deal is the best deal. That's cargurus.com, cargurus.com. Hey, we're back. We'll do some fan comments on the Kyle Freeland quote. The Dodger hater or something like that. I don't know what the name is. It's not the player's fault. It's the owner's fault. Yes, that's pretty obvious. Master plan. Why should people believe in a team that the owners don't care about? I have nothing against the players. The organization is terrible. Jer Bear, I've been hoping this guy goes to a winning team for a long time. He deserves so much better. And so does the entire Rockies fan base. You know what? I'm going to stop. There's a lot more. It's kind of depressing. It's Friday.
Rockies ownership does care about the people. They care about the people they have on the roster. In my opinion, they don't care about winning. That's my they're not treating their players bad. They treat their players like gold. From what I have heard, the difference is I don't think they care about winning as much as a Major League Baseball ownership should care.
Why aren't they, I know we can't talk more, we're trying to run here, but what about the manager? Like, Pirates got rid of theirs. And what about good old Bud Black over there? I mean, been there for a long time.
Yeah.
Is it time to start mixing and matching that up a little bit?
I will say the difference between the White Sox and Rockies versus the Pirates is the Pirates will actually switch it up. Every 5 to 7 years when they retank, they will bring in a new group, right?
But when's the last time that they've been good, the Rockies, under his management?
2018.
2018?
Yeah. Okay, so it's been 7-8 years.
Same thing, though. They got rid of Nolan. They got rid of DJ LeMahieu. All those guys.
MassLive Red Sox reporter Christopher Smith was in the clubhouse for the Rafael Devers comments, asking the questions at the top there. So, Chris, thanks for joining us. Appreciate the time here on Foul Territory. Give us the lowdown. You were there. What was the tone, tempo, reaction, and, of course, your analysis on how this is playing out?
Yeah, I mean, with Rafael Devers, it's been strange the past couple of years. I mean, he hasn't talked to the media much. There was a situation in the clubhouse in New York when they played the Mets last year where, he stayed by his locker for an hour. He was told an hour before that we wanted to talk to him, and he sat there by his locker with his head down and everything, and then went and took a shower and then just refused to talk after instead of just telling us before, I don't want to talk. So, he's been, but when he has spoken to the media, he's been pretty good, like open about things. That dates back to spring training 2023 when he called out the ownership for not doing enough. You go back to, or that was spring training 24. You go to this spring training and just, refuses to play DH. That's what he tells us when we were there and we asked him, about the Bregman signing and what the Red Sox were asking him. And this is just like that, just like what happened in spring training. Refusal to want to play first base. He feels that the team, was not clear to him, did not stand by their word. Let's be clear, like, when the Red Sox signed into this 10-year extension, this was Hein Bloom, that was back in that day, that signed him to that contract. But it was also the owners involved, and it was, Alex Cora and everybody. And, they promised him he'd be the long-term third baseman. And, they changed and that was their tune all offseason, while the Bregman rumors were coming. And, they were telling him, they were communicating to him that he was the third baseman. And so that's why he was, like he felt they went back on their word. And I think that, when you ask him to be the DH, he finally settles into it and everything. And now you're asking him, a month into the season, can you try to play? Um, can you try to play first base? Then all of a sudden, he's feeling like they're going back on their word again. He's going to be frustrated. Ultimately, I think it might happen. I think he might change his mind again, like he did at spring training, and just acquiesce and do what the team asks him to do.
Is this, before we get into who exactly the communication issue is with, does this make Rafi Devers unrelatable to the blue collar fan that I think the Red Sox fans are? Because they really wanted to keep Mookie Betts around, and Mookie Betts is out in LA saying, well, I want to go glove in right field, but I'll move to shortstop so we can make our team better. Does this make the franchise cornerstone, Rafi Devers, unrelatable to the fans in Boston?
Yeah, I mean, it does because, if you're, there's not many fans in Boston making $300 million. And, like you cannot understand, the fact that, whatever job you're doing, usually when you're asked to change or do something else, you have to say yes. And, it's, so there's a team aspect to it too. I mean, there's a team aspect of, he's not being a good teammate. And I know that there's players that are frustrated in the clubhouse. There was players listening in yesterday as we were asking questions, and they were frustrated at him. So, yes, I go back to, there was a long time ago that Rafael Devers didn't have this much money, and if you asked him, at the beginning of his career to switch over to first base, he would have done it. So yes, it's very unrelatable, and I can't get the concept of, well, they're asking you to do a couple things, like they asked you to be the DH. Well, now they're asking you to be first base. It's not like they've changed their minds all of a sudden a month into the season. There was a major injury. Tristan Casas ruptured his patella tendon, and so that's the situation. So to not even be flexible and say, I'll think about it or I'll try to take some ground balls there. It's very unrelatable, I think, not only to the fans there, but also to his teammates who, want to win and they need a first baseman. And there's no one in the Red Sox minor league system right now who could come up and play first base. I mean, they're AAA. They have journeyman AAA guys playing first base right now.
So you say other players are frustrated. As we saw Gabrielle Starr make a comment about how some players, I guess, paraphrasing, were voicing their opinions or kind of looked like they were upset about it. I don't know. To me, as an ex-ball player, I don't know. I'm trying to word this the right way. I don't know if were they like talking behind his back? Were they snarling? Like, how do you see them being frustrated over the comments that he said? Without calling anybody out. I don't need names. I'm just saying, like, if someone's going to make a comment like that, that's a tough comment to make. That could have a lot of dissension in the clubhouse and now dissension towards you and another reporter as well, right?
Yeah, so I was focused on what Raphael was saying, and so I wasn't listening in on what they were doing, what they were saying and doing. One reporter told me, though, that one of them said to just stop talking. I didn't hear that. But, somebody while Raphael Devers continued to answer questions, somebody just said, just stop talking. We've also at MassLive learned that a couple players were veteran players that have been around the league a long time, were not happy with the situation. And with his inflexibility and also the way that he brought it out publicly. So that's wasn't just. And as I said, I didn't hear that player directly. That's what I was told. And a couple of reporters were talking about it. But yeah, we've also heard at Mass Live there was players that weren't happy about it.
Is Rafi Devers held to a different standard in that clubhouse because he's a superstar? Not just by Alex Cora, but by his teammates before this instance?
Yeah, it's interesting with Rafael. He does not want to be the face of the franchise. That's what he said to Alex Cora before. He wants to go out and hit, and before this year, field and do his thing. And it's not like he ever asked to be a leader. That's just not his personality. And one of the reporters said to me like, I mean, he hasn't been easy with the reporters, but one of the reporters was saying to me in spring training, like, he'd be a cool teammate, you would think, just the way he goes around and everything. But, this type of stuff is not good. And there's a divide. I mean, players are asked to change positions all the time. I tweeted out today that, Miguel Cabrera went from first base to third, from left field to second. I mean, he went from the outfield to first base, or the outfield to third base to first base to the third base again, and then back to first base, depending on teams' needs. And he's a Hall of Famer. I mean, like, listen, Rafael Devers is making the most money of anybody in this organization besides, the owner, John Henry, and the, the chairman, Tom Warner, the guys that are writing his paychecks. And, so there's a sense there that I think that he feels disrespected, and I think that because of this situation, because of what happened in spring training, that they didn't communicate to him well, and they're basically saying you're not a good enough third baseman. You have to go. You're not a good fielder. We had to go out and get somebody else. It's that type of thing. So. Um, I think he feels disrespected. But ultimately he wanted to play the field, right? Like, so go play the field, like try first base.
Does Alex Cora fall into play here? Do you feel like there's a fractured relationship between him and Devers? And as the manager, why couldn't he just sit down with Rafi and say, hey, you're playing first, right? I mean, technically, as a paid member of a team, if he says you are written in the lineup at first base and he doesn't do it, I mean, obviously that leads to really suspension. Sit the guy. It's been done before. It's happened. If you look, it's nothing recent, but if you look back, there's guys that have been forced to play positions that they haven't been happy about. And I don't even know if it would have gotten to that point, but I'm curious about the relationship and the communication process and why Alex has been pretty short in his commentary so far about him not playing first. It doesn't sound like he's protecting the player necessarily, because I feel like there's some dissension going on, but you're there every day. And I know Cora's going to address it again soon, but what do you think?
I think that's the important question today is like, why was, when I asked the question to Raphael, he said, we had a conversation. So I was asking who he is. And I said to Raphael, I said, I'm assuming that means Alex and Craig Breslow. And, so I would assume that it meant Alex, like that it meant Alex Cora would be part of that conversation. I mean, he's the manager of the team. He's, like the communicator in the clubhouse and everything, and that's what he's known for is his great communication with players and his ability to sit down with them and help them understand situations. However, this was just a conversation that he had with Craig Breslow. Craig Breslow went up to. So that's the question I ask Alex right now is like, why? Like why was he not involved in that as well? And I don't understand. I don't know at this point. But there's interesting things that Alex has said earlier in the year when everybody assumed that Devers would be playing third base occasionally if Alex Bregman needed a day off or they needed a third baseman for some reason. But during the first road trip, Alex Cora came out and said he's not playing third base at all this year. He is not going to play one inning at third base. And so that was kind of surprising because, I just assumed that he would play as if they needed him there or they needed somebody else to be the DH or something for a day because of health, that he could slide in there. And I think that one thing that Alex Cora said at that point was, he was talking about Team Puerto Rico and when he, was the general manager of Team Puerto Rico and how I believe I might be wrong about which player he asked to do this, but like I think he said Carlos Correa was asked to play out of position, third base. And they did not want, after they asked him to do that and he committed to it, they did not want him to go back and play shortstop at all. And so, so I don't know if Rafael was so mad that he said, initially, like, if you're not going to play me at third base, then I'm just going to DH. I'm not going to go in the field or whatnot. That's a question that should be asked. But overall, it's strange that the communication has not been there because, Alex is known to be a really good communicator. And I'm sure he's been working on this situation. And obviously, there's great tension right now between Devers and Craig Breslow. I mean, as I said, I asked him about Breslow. He didn't even say Breslow's name. He said the GM. And he really had some harsh things to say about Craig Breslow. That's not even Craig Breslow's title. Craig Breslow is the chief baseball officer. Just call him the GM and say like I don't know what he wants from me and stuff like that. There's obviously tension there. So Alex needs to be somebody that mediates it and gets in there.
Yeah, I don't think Rafi knows Craig Breslow's name, let alone his title. So I think that's probably where he said just the GM. Like I would just call you the reporter. But
Yes.
my last question, and then I have one comment about what I see on your wall. But my last question is there a power struggle for Alex Cora? Because you heard there's a little dissension with Heim Bloom and him, a little, I didn't agree. And now it's a new GM, not GM, president of baseball operations that came in. Is there a power struggle? Because he brings up, I've heard him in several interviews bringing up, well, when I was the general manager for what you said, the Puerto Rican team. So is there a power struggle with Alex as manager within the organization?
Well, Alex initially brought up that he was interested in the GM job when they fired Hein Bloom. Like he mentioned it, I think, at least within a couple of days after the firing. It might have been that day. And so, so it's interesting that and then during that final road trip of 2023, I trying to remember where it was. I think it was in Toronto, and I asked him specifically. I said, "Are you still interested?" And it had all changed in those 3 weeks. He said, "No, I don't think I'm ready." Yada yada yada, and he was done with that potential. Being the GM. There's been some thoughts before that. Even before that Alex would want to slide into the GM role eventually. It's not like he said many times he doesn't want to manage forever. He doesn't want to be, Terry Francona, and so he has his eyes on other things in life, and he has a young family, and so, but the manager was pretty much kind of forced upon Craig Breslow, right? Like usually when you're a new GM or a new chief baseball officer, you pick your own manager, and Craig was not allowed to do that. And I know that Alex has a really good relationship with John Henry and ownership, and so I'm sure that they were in favor of keeping him and told Craig Breslow that they wanted him as the manager. Now, Craig also had the ability, though, to just play out the year last year too and see how their relationship came together, and apparently their relationship came together. I mean, the ownership wasn't holding him to it like you have to have Alex Cora as your manager forever. As long as you're in this position, he's your manager. They were going to let Craig Breslow make a decision on manager, and Craig gave him the extension. So they have to have somewhat of a good relationship, you know, so I don't know. I mean, I think that it's weird that they both didn't approach Devers on this situation. Is something that obviously needs to be asked today.
Christopher, last thing, just a comment from me. Next time you come on, and this is your first time on FT, I need you to take that ticket down from behind your left shoulder because I grew up a Phillies fan, and the 93 World Series ticket that you're looking at, it just says National League champion again versus the Toronto Blue Jays. It hurts my feelings because they lost that. I was 13 years old when that happened, and they don't even have the Phillies name on it. So next time, I need that taken down before you come on.
Yeah, when usually like every time and I've gone to every ballpark. Actually, now I've covered a game at every ballpark, but Pittsburgh, it's just hasn't worked out, and hopefully next year I'll cover a game there. But I try to get a souvenir or something for my office from every place that I go to, and I looked at that in the Toronto team store, and I was like, wow, that looks sharp. So sorry about that, but it does look kind of sharp, doesn't it?
I do like it. It looks cool.
It's nice. Well, Chris, this was great. Really great insight. Enjoyed having you on here. Thanks for the time. And the saga continues. Have fun at
All right.
the presser later.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And everyone, make sure you give Chris a follow. Check out his work in MassLive. Really good reporting on this. FT fam, we're excited to introduce you to Rowback with the subtle dog logo and 2 stripes on the back of every product. Kratz, what are you rocking for us?
I'm rocking the polo, which never feel like a t-shirt until now. Out on the course, I'm going to stay cool, and as much as I sweat, I won't be wet.
Use the code FOUL on rowback.com for a generous 20% off your first purchase. That's FOUL on RHOBACK.com. 20% off all shirts, hoodies, polos, and more with the code FOUL. By the way, I'm fancy today.
You are.
This is Rowback.
Comfy too.
It's nice.
I got a couple of them.
That's the good stuff right there. That's
Doesn't
nice.
even hurt.
Yeah. I had a good morning. I had to dress up a little nice to hang out
You
with
don't
my
even
niece
have to
and
iron
nephew
them bad boys. You
at
just
their
throw them
school.
on.
Yeah, exactly. Right. No wrinkle. Beauty. Mwah. Anyway, Kyle Schwarber's been getting on base a lot for a while. 43 games with the knock in the 9th, more than halfway to Ted Williams, who has the record at 84.
Oh, a little over halfway.
Mm-hmm.
Good luck.
Even still, when you think about it and how bad batting averages are these days, and I know Schwarber takes a lot of walks. This isn't a hitting streak. This is on base streak. Still, the fact that he is getting on base in 43 games in a row,
Pretty
that
incredible.
is damn impressive. And the way pitching is these days, how advanced it is, how you're not getting the same pitcher for, they pull guys like that's impressive. I mean, I think the pitching's better than when Ted Williams was hitting.
I would agree with you
Right?
on that one. I think so.
A little bit.
A smidgen,
Yeah.
like Kratz would say.
And they needed to stretch it. They needed that comeback. He made out the last out, the third out, and the 7th, and they needed to stretch it around. The boys needed to come through for him. Obviously, he came back and won. Stott hit a deep fly ball for a 3-run dinger to get him back up to the plate, and then he looped it in. He got to first and high-fived Paco, the first base coach, and was already running out. He knew he was getting pinch run for. Rojas just ran like his feet were on fire. It was awesome. Then Schwarber was top step cheering for the boys. Anyway, he's a G. He's a G.
Agreed.
Yep, he is. He's got to get the boys to figure out the playoffs. I think the Phillies will get there, but got to figure it out in the regular season or in the postseason, I should say.
Yep.
We'll see what happens. We're also a long ways away from that. In the weeds, good one here from Osiris in The Athletic. 10 early season MLB numbers that could be cause for alarm. Let's begin with the Dodgers. Now, this was several days ago, but still, you'll get the effect. He said 157 innings by starters. That means they're on pace for a bottom 5 innings output of all time. Their starters are going 4.5 innings on average. It's just how things go in LA these days. I'm reading stuff here from the article. Obviously, it's been successful for them. But over the course of a full season, you're looking at an extra 200 to 250 innings that the bullpen will be taxed with. Now, Kratz, it's not the same roster all year, especially for the Dodgers. Their 40-man is fit for a 26-man, if that makes sense. But what do you take from these numbers?
I mean, it's disheartening. It's also disheartening if it comes with injuries. You always look at the Rays and you're like, oh man, the Rays they don't care. They're going to break their bullpen guys and then they bring up the next one. Dodgers do it a little bit different in the sense that they're not pushing their starters through some situations just because it's more like, okay, Yamamoto, Sasaki, they came over from Japan. Glasnow is always coming off some type of injury. I thought that's why Blake Snell was going to be a huge piece for them, that he would be able to eat more innings because he can throw more pitches. But they do it differently in the sense that they're like, we're not going to push these guys right now. We're not going to push them. We have out of the bullpen, we have Kasparius. Landon Knack has thrown out of the bullpen. I know he's starting now. They even talked about Dustin May throwing out of the bullpen. He hasn't, but they have a different type of pitcher that they can call up from the minor leagues that gives them innings out of the bullpen. Oh, yeah, and then they have 4 closers in their bullpen too. And that's with Blake Trinan not even in their current active bullpen. So they build it differently, but it's concerning because those dudes cannot stand up to that the rest of the year, and they're just going to start cycling through a bunch of AAA guys.
Yeah, that's basically all she wrote there with that. I mean, that's part of it.
They have Yamamoto obviously having a Cy Young-ish season up until last night, by the way. The other problem could be the National League West is damn good.
And we talked about
it's like
that
you
earlier.
mentioned. You thought they were going to look better than they are right now, the Dodgers. And they certainly look good. But, game 1 against the Diamondbacks, they brought it to them. Yeah, and Yamamoto had a mistake pitch. He really hasn't had many of those, right? It was 92 down the pipe. Gabriel Moreno's first home run of the year, a big timely one, a grand slam for them. There it is. Right. I mean, Yamamoto's been working those corners. Obviously, he's got great secondary stuff. So, I mean, he's been great so far this year. And this was the clunker.
But I do have, I feel like that is alarming, though, about the innings. I don't know. I know we.
Yeah.
I do. I do. 4.5. Man, they have a bunch of guys that could do it, and I know they have the injuries, but at the same time, it's like, get to 6. Get into the 6th. And listen, they have a good bullpen, but when everybody is healthy, they're going to be absolutely dominant. But still, that is an alarm for me.
My point is, it just got so overblown in the offseason, Kratz. This is not a perfect team.
What? How is this not a perfect team? How can you just give them the trophy? Let's just play for second place.
That's what I said.
Oh, it's not a perfect team. They have a lot of, hey, they won it last year after Todd said, oh, they should just give them the trophy. And then the team got better. Yes, they got better. They want to win it again. That's why they brought the players in that they did. If they were the perfect team, they wouldn't have brought in all those guys. They would be like, we don't need all these guys because we'll be fine. We just have 26 really good players. No, they need it. And they know that these kinds of things are going to happen, but they also know that it'll set them up for success in the postseason because they've built so much depth and they didn't just grind these dudes into the ground the entire season.
And Shohei hasn't even pitched yet.
Ooh. Well, you're saying that in a way where they'll be better, or you don't know if he will pitch? Which way do you mean that?
I would say they're going to be
both?
Both. But right now, honestly, the only thing I could think of him doing, even if he's 100%, bring him out of the bullpen. Don't even start.
You can't do that, though.
Why not? Just hey, do it like they do in travel ball. Hey man, you just batted. Go warm up. Hopefully the inning takes a little longer than usual, so you can get
That's tough. Hey,
why change, bro? Listen,
you want to see him like
you
WBC
did it as a little
close it
kid.
out?
Hurry
Yeah.
up, get down there. 1, 2, 3 inning. You got 3 warm ups. You're good. Just hop on the mound. You get your warm up.
If anyone could do it, it is him, right? He is like the little league kid who's just better at everything than anyone in baseball,
Yes.
right? You're like, this
It's
dude
hard.
can lead in stolen bases, strike out the
You know
most
how
dudes,
interesting
hit
would
for
that
the
be,
most
man?
power.
Oh, that'd be
He could play outfield too. He I think will at some point later in his career go to the outfield because he can, and he might win a Gold Glove out there.
or
and have
go
the
in the
best arm.
cage underneath the stadium. I'm telling you, man. I could see it happening. Might not happen in the regular season, but we'll see.
Playoffs, things can happen. Who knows?
Playoffs.
Things can get crazy, right? Could I see him closing out a World Series game?
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. This year even. Absolutely. But could I also see the Diamondbacks bouncing the Dodgers early on in the playoffs?
Yeah.
You know, in the first or second round? I could. The Diamondbacks might finish in
Interesting.
third or fourth in the division, snag a wild card, and then upset the world. I mean, this is a good team. And I think it's a team that's built to win in the playoffs if they get there. They just missed last year. The year
talking
before
about
they
the
made it to the
Diamondbacks.
World Series.
Yeah, I
The
think it was-
Diamondbacks are damn good.
I-
Fott was pretty good yesterday.
I'm not
the
saying they're
lineup's
not good. They're a good team.
the lineup's good, man. The defense is good. I'm just saying this is a really solid ball club that can upset anyone. And I think they've put the right mix of people together, Kratz, like Perdomo, who we've talked about a lot, Ketel Marte, Corbin Carroll. These guys are not scared. Even Kevin Ginkel, who told us in the offseason how he feels like the Dodgers tighten up against them. Whether that's true or not, that's the kind of guy I want in my bullpen facing the Dodgers in a playoff game in the 8th inning when the bases are loaded.
They're going to need a lot of Kevin Ginkles in the bullpen because that bullpen is shaky McGrady right now. That without Justin Martinez, without AJ Puck, like we're a little struggle bus in there. But you said that lineup is ridiculous. You can't count a team out that has 2 MVP candidates on it: Ketel Marte, Corbin Carroll. They lost Christian Walker. And they added Josh Naylor. Like, this lineup is awesome. They run the bases with their hair on fire. To me, that's a team that can beat you. Just like a team that has 3 really good starters in the playoffs can beat you. A lineup that can absolutely do so many different things, not just hit a home run or not just put the ball in play. They can do everything. That's a team that can win in the playoffs. And they'll be scary. They have to get in first. They can't keep playing 8 to 7 games.
Well said.
Well said.
Yeah. We're going to go back to the depressing side of things. We've done a lot of this today. Noah Hiles talking Pirates with us next. Oh, hey, AJ Hinch is the 75th manager in history with 900 wins. Active managers to reach that mark: Bochy, Tito, Melvin, Black, Hinch. Congrats, Hinch. I like it. He's great. Obviously, the Tigers are playing great ball. Let me get to the A's from that article from Eno Cyrus because we were running short on time because we want to get to Noah Hiles. But he said right now, the easiest park to homer in at night is Sacramento. The 6th hardest place to hit a homer in during the day, Sacramento.
That's interesting.
Wait, say that again? It's opposite?
Yeah, it's hotter during the day.
Yeah, but the warmer it is, it should be going out.
That's
no,
what
I think
mean.
they're looking at nighttime homers and daytime homers. So easiest park to homer in at night is Sacramento.
Sacramento. And the hardest.
6th hardest place to hit a homer in during the day, Sacramento.
Just wait until
Right,
the
that's
summer
what I'm
comes
saying.
around. Wait till the summer, summer heat.
Like I would have said, like Colorado during the day games. Oh, I love hitting an over on day games. So I would have said it would have been opposite. It gets dark, it gets cooler. I don't know. I wonder if like some wind rolls in or something. Usually it gets calmer at night. I'm confused by that, but I'll adjust.
Wait until the summer comes and it's scorching degrees and they play a day game and the ball's going to be flying out.
It's going to be the sun there. It's going to be a 110 and the boys are just going to be cooking like,
Looking.
Jeez, I'm frying out here. I need some Coke. Let's go to the pool.
And they both have the wildest swings in home run environment because the weather matters so much more since they're minor league parks. They shade their fields less. Wind becomes more of a factor. That's interesting. Makes sense, though.
Yeah. Analyticals and weather riticals.
Well, you don't have the whole stadium hovering over you, blocking stuff from coming in, right? That's how I explain things. That's why I'm not in the education world.
No, you're right.
I ended up here.
I just made up a word.
Mm-hmm. All right, we'll try and get a little smarter here and solve the Pirates. If anyone can solve the Pirates, maybe it's Noah Hiles, beat writer, joining us next. All right, here we go. Let's bring back Noah. Noah, first off, right off the jump, because I think it's the second time you've been on with us. Hiles or Hiles?
Hiles. Like Brian
Hiles,
Giles,
okay.
but with an H.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And a better mustache.
Often, but
thank you.
Yeah. Producer lady in the chat, that is not the correct pronunciation.
It wasn't a lady.
Heads up, producer lady. Bus coming your way from Scott Braun.
It couldn't have been a producer lady.
Well, I looked. I was like, wait, what? Oh, she said that. She meant that. Okay. Anyway, let's get back on track here. Noah, give Noah a follow. I have him on my notifications. Beat writer for the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette has been all over the story here with the disaster season for the Pirates, and we went over it last time we had you on. Let's focus on Derek Shelton out and what that means for the future of this organization. Do we think that Ben Cherington could be next, maybe at the end of the season, or does he get a longer leash because you can't replace the owner?
Yeah, from what I've been told, if the season were to end today, Ben Cherington is still the general manager of this ball club. I think his dismissal largely depends on how this team plays under Don Kelly moving forward. If they play better, in which there's a possibility for that to happen, considering that they're going to be getting Spencer Horwitz and Nick Gonzalez back soon. Bubba Chandler will probably be promoted here within the next month, and Jared Jones will be back sometime in July. They're going to get a better roster for him to play with, or for him to coach. And if this team plays a little better, I think there's a chance Cherington sticks around. I don't know if that's the right call or not. Thankfully, I'm not the one who has to make that decision. But yeah, I think that Cherington has a little bit longer of a leash. I think that's reflected in how they went about this last offseason. You don't typically see teams reconstruct their front office 5 years into a regime. In the last 18 months or so, they've replaced all three heads of the scouting department, pro, international, and amateur. They found a new head of R&D and a new farm director. So those are moves that are typically made by a general manager who doesn't think he's on the hot seat. I don't know if that's changed. I would have to assume that there's definitely at least a little pressure connected to his name and title right now. But I think that if he's going to be let go at the end of the season, it's going to be because the team continues to play poorly after this Shelton move was made.
If that is true, if the result of the next 100 and some games does kind of pertain to Ben Cherington's employment for next year and 5 years from now, does that mean there's going to be more input from the front office and Don Kelly's not going to get a leash to be able to say, this is what I want?
That's another really good question. I know that they're probably going to make other staff changes. They just released their game planning coordinator this morning. So I'm interested to see what the rest of the coaching staff looks like now that Kelly's at the helm. And as far as Kelly's future goes here in Pittsburgh, I do think he'll have a little bit more control and say of things. But at the same time, I mean, his future is depending, just like Cherington's, on how well the rest of this season goes. I think that Shelton had a lot of control here, maybe more than some people would like to believe as far as lineup construction is concerned. It's just the options that he was given to choose from weren't the best. So it wasn't like he was necessarily pulling all the wrong strings. There just wasn't a lot of good strings to pull from. Kelly faces that same predicament. We'll see what he can do. But if he performs well, and I think he'll have the opportunity to make his own decisions with hope to perform well. But if he performs well, I think there might be a future here for him.
How is Don Kelly going to be able to plan for the game without a game planning coach? Radley Haddad is just gets an absolute stray here by getting fired along with Shelton. Do you know any background of why he was the one that the team's not hitting? Why did the hitting coach not go? Why, the team, Paul Skeens has 4 losses. See ya, pitching coach. Like, why Radley Haddad getting drug out the door with Shelton?
That's one I haven't had a lot of time to dig into just yet. This is a move that I just learned about this morning. And frankly, I've been pretty busy talking about the move that was made yesterday and still trying to figure out everything that went on there. There's a lot going on here in Pittsburgh if you guys haven't been paying attention, from bricks to Surfside ads to ushers hitting people with belts. It's been a lot. So now the focus is on the manager change, and I'm sure they're going to be, maybe a few other coaching staff changes or at least a reshuffling of the deck. And it's hard to make sense of any of it right now because it's hard to put blame on a few specific individuals when it seems like it's a organizational failure as a whole.
Let me ask you this. So we're talking about the management, the brass a little bit. What we haven't talked about are the players. What have you seen from the players? Have they expressed any concern? Are they excited about the move? Have you talked to these guys about, what's next? Are you guys ready, to kind of change gears here a little bit? Anything from the players' perspective on this change yet?
I haven't talked to him since the change because yesterday was an off day. I'll be heading down to the clubhouse as soon as this interview's over, actually. But I am looking forward to hear their perspective. I know in the days leading up to Shelton's dismissal, it was made pretty clear to me that this was expected. And it's not something they necessarily were rooting for, but it was just kind of expected within multiple levels of the organization that if you've been around baseball long enough, you could feel a move like this coming. And I think the general consensus was this isn't going to fix much. They understood why it was likely coming, but it's going to take a lot of people being much better at their jobs if this is going to turn around. And the players recognize this. Mitch Keller voiced as much after Wednesday's loss. He said, we've got to hold each other accountable and we've got to do a better job of that. And it's going to take veteran guys like that on this team to push that messaging. And more than anything else, it's just going to take better execution. Some of their more reliable players just haven't been productive so far this season. You look at guys like Brian Reynolds, who is one of the higher paid guys on the team, one of the better hitters, one of the more consistent guys on the offensive end of this team. He just hasn't been playing well. And he's one of a few guys you could say that about. I'm sure he'll get going, and the team's going to need him to get going if it has any chance of playing any sort of meaningful baseball this year.
But when you have superstars, you need people around them. When you have stars, you need people around them. And nothing. I went to a game. I went to the Paul Skeens start. No ushers beat me up with a belt or anything. It was fine. I didn't buy any statesides. Nothing like that. But I saw Enmanuel Valdez hitting 4th for this team.
Yeah.
Is that making a Brian Reynolds, who was hurt with a lat at the time, or a Andrew McCutchen, or a bounce back year from Ke'Bryan Hayes accessible if you're not bringing in a first baseman who has a consistent track record of hitting 4th or 5th in the lineup? Nothing. Enmanuel is a big league baseball player, but when I saw him hitting 4th in the lineup, it surprised me that this team doesn't have something to supplement around the guys who are supposed to be the guys for the team.
Yeah, I totally agree. I last offseason, on October 2nd, Ben Cherington spoke with us reporters here at PNC Park as his end of season press conference. He said that he felt that this organization's depth was the greatest it's been during his time in Pittsburgh. Well, that depth was tested in the beginning of this season when Nick Gonzalez was put on the IL after the first game of the season. And when Spencer Horowitz was put on the IL in spring training, when he arrived in a wrist cast, they lost their right side of the infield. And then they lost Jared Jones as well. That depth was tested and that depth failed. They did not have the guys to back up. I came on and was waiting in the lobby while you guys were talking about the Dodgers. And obviously that's a very tough team to compare the Pirates to, or vice versa. But you want to talk about depth when guys aren't performing on a winning baseball team. You have viable options coming up from the minor leagues or coming off the bench. The Pirates, their backup plans have not worked so far. At first base, at second base, in the corner outfield spots, it's been just a handful of guys who have all the pressure on them to perform. And if they get off to a slow start, they're in big trouble. If they get hurt, they're in big trouble. Or when other guys are slumping and you're one of a few players that are an actual threat in the lineup, the opposing team doesn't have to throw you anything to hit. You have no lineup protection. We're seeing all of that unfold right now here in Pittsburgh.
So, no, I'm going to go back to where I started. How does this not fall on Ben Cherington? We're in the National League Central. We know what we're dealing with in the owner at this point. They're not going to invest in players in the offseason. He's made that quite clear with his actions for a long time now. I can beat that one down as much as we want. But as far as money, I mean, sometimes the Brewers are not too far off with their payroll. They could be looked at as an outlier, but why can't the Pirates figure out how to get to that point at any point? And if they can't, doesn't that mean you try and, I don't know, find out who Matt Arnold's right-hand man or even below that is and just bring him over and be like, hey, can we try and replicate that? Because the budget's not going to change. And I feel like there's been enough time here for Cherington to rack up some picks, and I don't see it for the Pirates. I mean, I've been pretty clear-cut since the show started, right, that I don't see it. You know, sometimes it's cute. It's a 12-8 start, and everyone's like, woohoo, but it's not a good roster, right? It's not there. So I feel like they need a fresh start as far as how they're working as an organization. They're 12-26. This season's shot.
You're not the only person who feels that way. It's tough to justify a fresh start when you have Paul Skeens pre-arb right now, but I would have to agree. I think that when you look at what this organization is doing well versus what it's not doing well, I think that it's more than just identifying affordable big league talent. When you look back the last time this franchise was successful, that 13 through 15 window, it wasn't because they were outspending teams or even spending more money than they normally do. It was because they were a good organization. They were thriving in scouting. They were thriving in the analytics community. They were innovative with implementing the shift into baseball. That kind of started here in Pittsburgh. They were coming up with new ideas on how you can win baseball games. They were what people associate the Rays to be, or the Brewers, or the Guardians, these small market teams who consistently win. You're not going to beat teams in the offseason with your spending budget. You're going to beat them by being better in the unseen areas of the game, the behind the scenes stuff. And the Pirates were that type of organization for a brief period of time about a decade ago. But then that progress stopped. As other teams continue to advance with the times and advance their investment in those areas to the times, the Pirates remained stagnant and they fell behind. And I think their activity this past offseason indicated that they acknowledged that and they were aggressively trying to keep up. But you know, even good hires in the head of scouting departments, research and development, farm director, those investments aren't going to show any type of payoff for 2 to 3 years. So they're behind right now in the areas that small market teams need to be in. You're right by saying, yeah, the Brewers, they're not spending more money than the Dodgers or the Yankees, but their front offices are just as good, if not better, at figuring out innovative ways to create runs, to prevent runs from being scored against them, and to ultimately win games.
Yeah, this is probably at this point the most maddening franchise in baseball at the moment. Yeah. You could have made the case for Seattle in the last few years, but they're humming along right now. So at least as far as power rankings for fan frustration, they're number one. So let's finish with this. Let's spin it forward. Their season's over, right? They're 12-26. They suck. Who should we start to look at and scout right? From a national show perspective, we love the trade deadline and what leads up to it. So who could be on the move for the Pirates? Because the quickest way to get better is to trade away players for assets when you're not good. Not the guys that are signed up for long-term. And we know Skeens isn't getting traded, but who could deliver the Pirates some value back that they can utilize over the next few years?
Oh, I think the first answer is Andrew Heaney. Everyone's looking for starting pitching. He's a veteran left-hander who's been a part of some playoff rotations. So I think he could pull in some value. I don't think a ton, considering that he's on a one-year deal. The two names that I think could be interesting, and I'm not necessarily sure if I'll actually make it three. Not sure if they'll be dealt, but I think could potentially bring in some value. Two right-handers out of the bullpen, David Bednar and Dennis Santana. Both have an extra year of control after this season. Bednar's been really good after getting optioned on April 1st. He returned on the 19th. I think he's only allowed one earned run since he's come back. So he's been really good. And Dennis Santana, if you look at his numbers since being acquired by Pittsburgh, has been one of the more productive right-handed relievers in baseball. He's been really under the radar as an effective leverage guy and with multiple years of control. I think both of those guys could be attractive pieces. As far as position players go, I think maybe Joey Bart could be someone that they could shop. I don't expect a huge return for him, but when you consider what they gave away, I believe the player they traded for him was Jackson Wolf, someone who was a minor league arm, and you could probably get something a little bit more than that in return now. And when you look at just an asset appreciation, that could be something where they could view that as, hey, we could get a decent prospect or another big league contributor, maybe a replacement level player for someone we didn't expect to have on the roster very long that ended up turning out to be a decent hitter. Bart, what does he provide to a team? I don't know about much defensively. I think there's a weakness to his game as a catcher behind the plate, but I mean, he's got an above league average OPS and he's got some pop to his bat. Hasn't necessarily showed this year, but he's been getting on base and he can barrel the baseball. I think he'd be a nice little bench bat for a team to add at the deadline.
Catchers rarely get moved at the, if you want them at the trade deadline, it's just tough to simulate into a pitching staff on a playoff team. But here it is, Noah, outside the box, trade Paul Skeens. Trade Paul Skeens in a Herschel Walker type of game-changing move.
Here's why you can't do it. I don't know how could you define Paul Skeens' value right now? I just don't think he's so cheap. His talent plus what you're paying him, I don't know if there's a value that could be defined. He's kind of like the Mona Lisa right now. You have to allow him to get closer to arbitration, or at least I think hit arbitration until he's making something similar to a player his caliber. Because with 4 years of control to what he can provide as far as value on the mound, I don't think any team, especially a team in contention, would be willing to offer, would have the assets to offer or would be willing to offer. Because I think if you're going to trade someone like that, you can't just trade him for straight up prospects. You need to get proven big league talent in addition to prospects.
Largest trade of all time. I'm talking like right now, he is a chandelier in a haunted house.
Yeah.
It doesn't, the value of the chandelier, and other teams, if you want to make an impact on this organization that will last for the next 6 years, which is why you fire your scouting department, different heads, you change different things, you're looking to shake it up. Nothing against Spencer Horwitz, but that ain't the move that was pushing the Pirates across. And right now, Paul Skeens might win 15 games a season for a 65 at max 70 win team. Go and see the value, go and find it, set a new bar. You have to do something new because you're not spending. So you don't have 4 years of control with him. You technically in Pirate Land, you have 2.5 to 3 because that's when they get rid of guys and trade them for, future all-stars like they did Tyler Glasnow, like they did Garrett Cole, like they did all those things. Get something right now and change the bar.
I think it could happen. I don't think it's going to happen this year, though. I think that that's something that's going to happen probably further down the line. And if they start a rebuild now, which I don't think they're going to, but if they start a rebuild now and deal off guys like Reynolds, Keller, Hayes, if anyone wants him, Paul might be the final move in that rebuild down the line when he's a little closer to Arb and you can I also think that would have to be a move that's made over the offseason. I don't think anyone, like I said, would have the ability to acquire a player like that midseason.
It is fascinating. At first, you're like, shut up, and then you're like, they need a lot still.
Why not?
Yeah.
So, well, we'll bring you back and we'll talk it out again at some point. But Noah, thanks for the time, man. Appreciate you.
Absolutely, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. Give Noah a follow. He's great. I've got him on my notifications as well. Check out his work in the Post-Gazette. It's Todd Father on the sacks. BetMGM. Locks coming shortly. First off, free game of the day is good. The Seattle Mariners are on fire. It is at 9:40 Eastern time. They're taking on the Blue Jays. Live streaming available to all BetMGM customers logged in and with funded accounts. Yesterday, dud day. Nobody hit. I pressured AJ to up the ante.
Oh, man.
Did not happen. My bad, AJ. I'll see you on Monday in person. I lost an extra inning game, so I actually felt really good about a plus 165. Reds up 4-2 in the ninth. They did blow it, but those are the kind of games where you're going to want to try and seek value, and I'm fine. I'm pretty much close to level. I'm down 108. I'm no Todd Father, up 4 figures already, but what are you going with today, big man?
All I'm looking at is Kratz's number, and that's not good for him.
And he wants to smack you, but he can't.
That's really not good. So I'm riding that Derek Shelton train. He's taken me there a couple times. Actually, one time this year. I shouldn't say a couple. -1.5 Tigers. They've been rolling right now. Just drawing a blank of who they're playing. It doesn't even matter.
Tigers are playing the Rangers.
Yeah, it doesn't even matter. Rangers
It's
have been
Patrick
struggling.
Corbin against Derek
Yeah.
Shelton.
Yeah, no, I'm going Schuble -1 and a hook at 25, -125, 375 to win 300. Tigers going to win by 2 or more runs. Probably a low scoring game. Probably I would say 6-1. Good luck.
Nice. Kratz, you want to get one in? I'll do mine later.
Yeah, I'm going to go total strikeouts for the team. Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim strike out quite a bit. Shigano gets his strikeouts against teams that strike out a lot. Teams that don't strike out a lot, it's usually lower, and it's only at 8.5, and it's paying me plus 110. Put down 100 to win 110 and go into the weekend happy.
And quick, your home run pick is?
Cal Raleigh's playing the Blue Jays. Jiminy Christmas. Can't not bet on Cal Raleigh all weekend for the home run pick.
And I saw you get a little boost with your boost token, getting you from plus 310 to plus 372 on the one that you locked in. Good for you. We'll talk more about those home run boosts coming up in a bit, but we'll be right back to look ahead at this weekend. All right, let's look ahead at the weekend. Do you want to pick a series that you'll be watching?
I mean, for me, I got excited because I thought it was Yankees-Mets, but it's next weekend.
Next weekend. Soto back at Yankee
I'm going to go
Stadium.
a little Kratzy here. Philly-Cleveland. Philly-Cleve. I'm feeling a little bit of action. I'm seeing Philly here. I mean, the Guardians, they find ways to win games. Philly's coming off a nice little stretch there in Tampa, so I feel like a little Nola Williams action. Williams has been pitching really, really well, in my opinion. He just goes after it. He'll get hit every once in a while, but he finds a way to throw a lot of innings and get after it. So I'm going to go over there in the Guardian action.
Okay.
I'll go out west.
Kratz?
I'll go out west. It's got to either be the Dodgers and Diamondbacks or it's got to be the Yankees and A's. Just because the A's are playing well. See how they do up against a lineup like the Yankees. But I mean, I think the Dodgers Diamondbacks is the marquee series with, division clash. They already played one game and you're like, ooh, this is going to be nice all weekend.
I agree. That's the one. Roki Sasaki on the mound tonight against Eduardo Rodriguez. But I'll give a few other candidates. Cubs Mets should produce some offense. Jameson Taillon against Clay Holmes in the first one. But I mean, these are two really good looking lineups that could do damage even in the playoffs against the Dodgers team. Like when you look at the lineups right now and how they've operated, I do think both lineups are capable of keeping up with LA in a series. And that's saying something. Boston and Kansas City, just the Devers drama continuing. It's more about the pre and the post game quotes, but also Kansas City's won 15 out of 17. That's pretty good. And then lastly,
really good.
really good. Lastly, this one stands out, Kratz, because of the urgency. The Orioles just lost 3 out of 4, I believe it was, to the Twins. Back-to-back 5-2 losses to end the series there, right? That was 4. They're playing the Angels, who are not playing good ball. It's Shigano, like you mentioned earlier, against Kyle Hendricks in the first game. I mean, the Orioles are 10 games under 500 right now. 10 games under 500. When are we panicking? I mean, I know we have a little bit on this show already.
We said that. A lot of people had them in the playoffs. I didn't see it.
You didn't like them. You were strong about it, too.
Man.
And people gave you crap. They're like, how dare you, Todd Father? They're 13 and 23.
They had the prospects to get rid of to freaking get guys back, man. Prospects are great. It's cool. Y'all, I'm the top guy in the organization. Yeah, a few of them, prosper and do well, but how many really go out there and are like, whoa, like they had them to get some key veteran guys that are solid and pitching. Didn't do it. And right now, I'm just not high on them.
So that's why, Kratz, I mean, this weekend you watch this, you're like, you got to put some sweeps together. You got to get on a win streak here. This is one of the worst teams in baseball right now. Talking about the Angels, or the Orioles are not far off, right? You got to put some wins together. You got to win a series here. The Twins aren't great either, and the Twins just made them look bad.
It's happening in different aspects. They're getting thrown out on the bases. They're not hitting. Clearly, you don't know they don't have starting pitching. Sagano tonight will be a boost for them. But man, you're right. It's panic time. You asked earlier this week if it was panic time. It's panic time. Double digits under 500 has to turn around.
Exactly. So I'll be watching that one too.
FT fam, what's up? All my FT gamblers, you already know who it is today. It's Pick 'em Pap again because we hit our last one. Pick 'em Pap ain't changing, and it's pretty simple. We're gonna take the Padres at -1.5 run line, and I think it's -145-ish. So we're gonna put 400 on it, and we're gonna watch it win by 2 runs and just take the cheese. It's gonna be that easy, and I'm out.
Good luck, Pap.
We didn't let him say out.
Good luck, baby. I'll go.
Now it's Pick 'em Pap.
Yeah, Pick 'em Pap. I'm going to join Pick 'em Pap with a Pick 'em. It's close to an even money game. -115. I'll go 115 to win a hundo on the Nationals to pick up a win tonight against the Cardinals. Mitchell Parker against Erik Fetty. I think that one's pretty closely matched. The Cardinals a little worse against left-handed pitching. I like Parker. I know he's had a couple. I think the last 2 starts were his 2 worst of the season. Fetty's up and down. So I think I give Parker the edge in the pitching matchup when you look at the numbers, the weak contact that he gives up. And the Nationals, I think, thrive against a team like this. When they're playing a team like the Cardinals, this is what keeps them in the 500 range right now. This is not a great team in Washington, but it's a team that's going to be a pest.
Yes, exactly.
Right? They might finish with 75, 77 wins, something like that.
Thorn in your side action.
They are. It's not a bad team. They're building. So there's the picks. Good luck to everyone tonight. And then you heard the home run lock from Kratz earlier. BetMGM's the spot for your home run picks. Why? Because you get home run boost tokens. Activate that token when you bet on any player to hit a homer in any MLB game. If that player hits a dinger, you get a bigger payout. It's that simple. Okay? Gambling problem or concern, call 1-800-GAMBLER, and we will be right back for Slap Hands. Hey, let's slap. Reminder to everyone, we like when you make suggestions on guests that we should try and bring on to the show. Player-wise, if there's somebody out there that you feel like is a good combo, a good interview, and we're missing them, let us know, and we'll reach out and we'll try and get them on the show. Next week, by the way, I do see Mason Miller on the schedule for later in the week. A's closer, always a fun combo. Kratz Hatz.
I just want to say the slap hands, the new slap hands, that makes me happy. I just want to make sure everybody noticed it.
Ooh, natties.
Natty.
No, wait. Is it the Nationals? Oh, no, it's Minnesota. Oh, wait, no. It's the Nationals. Wait, no.
Wait, flip it again?
It's Miami
That
Marlins.
That could be the Marlins. That's right. That's a cool hat. What do they call that when you can, flip something and it's the same either way?
Inverted?
Each other? I don't know.
No, there's a better word for that. Just none of us knuckleheads know.
Kratzy, you're on one today, bro. You're bad.
That's
Wait a minute.
You can't get smacked.
What?
Wait a minute. Not the Rockies. Not the Rockies. Rockies.
I get it.
Not the
get
Rockies.
A dub?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Put the
Tough
hat
to find
back
a
on.
dub
You're-
lately.
You're scaring
Okay?
people with that noggin.
Hey, Kyle Freeland laid his heart out, and Kratz is just ripping it.
Yeah, he's a ripper. He's become this high school coach, and he's ripping kids hard
Yeah,
out.
because they win too much, that team. They do. He's a
Wait until
successful
the
high
states
school
come.
baseball
He's got to
coach.
win a state championship for him to get some clout. It's this time is now.
Yeah, put up or shut up.
I don't win anything. I don't have to win anything. The kids have to win. It's all their fault. If we win, then it's mine.